Dr. Lisa Martinez stood outside the grand wedding hall on New Eden Colony, watching her daughter's wedding through the tall glass windows. The evening light from Kepler 442b's twin suns cast long shadows across the polished floor inside. She wore her best dress, the navy blue one she had saved money for 3 months to buy. Her hands shook slightly as she held the small gift she had brought for Amy. Inside the hall, hundreds of guests filled elegant chairs arranged in perfect rows. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over everything. Fresh flowers from earth decorated every surface, their sweet smell drifting out whenever someone opened the doors. The Blackwood family had spared no expense for this wedding. Lisa watched as her daughter Amy walked down the aisle in a stunning white dress that probably cost more than Lisa made in 6 months. Amy looked beautiful, radiant, and completely happy. Her arm was linked with Nathan Blackwood's as he walked her toward the altar. Nathan had legally adopted Amy 8 years ago, and now he was giving her away in marriage. Lisa's heart ached as she remembered the little girl who used to run to her after school, excited to share every detail of her day. That same little girl, who would curl up next to her on cold nights when they lived in their tiny apartment near the research station. The same child who used to help her sort alien specimens in their kitchen, asking endless questions about different species and their behaviors. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Marcus Blackwood, Nathan's nephew, stood waiting at the altar in an expensive suit. He was handsome and wealthy, everything the Blackwood family wanted for Amy. The minister spoke words about love and commitment while Lisa watched from outside like a stranger. When the minister asked if anyone objected to the marriage, Lisa felt a moment of wild hope. She almost stepped forward, almost called out that she was Amy's mother and deserved to be there. But she stayed silent, knowing it would only cause pain for everyone. The ceremony continued without her. Amy and Marcus exchanged vows that spoke of eternal love and family support. They exchanged rings that sparkled under the lights. When they kissed, the guests erupted in applause and cheers. Lisa watched her daughter's face light up with joy, and despite her own pain, she felt glad that Amy was happy. After the ceremony, Lisa walked slowly back to her small hotel room across town. She passed other colonial buildings, all built in the same clean, modern style. New Eden Colony was supposed to be humanity's perfect world, a place where people could start fresh and build better lives. For some people like the Blackwoods, that dream had come true. For others like Lisa, it felt more like a place where old wounds never healed. She had not always been alone. 12 years ago, she had been married to Richard Kane, Amy's father. They lived on Earth then, and Lisa was just starting her career as a xenobiologist. Richard worked in corporate finance and made good money. They had plans for a big family and a house in the suburbs. But when Amy was 5 years old, Richard left them. He said he could not handle the stress of Lisa's dangerous work with alien specimens. He said he wanted a normal wife who would focus on family instead of career. He took their savings and moved to another planet, leaving Lisa to raise Amy alone. Those next few years were the hardest of Lisa's life. She worked 3 jobs while finishing her doctorate degree. During the day, she taught basic science classes at the local community college. At night, she cleaned office buildings downtown. On weekends, she worked at an alien specimen processing facility, handling dangerous biological samples that other scientists were afraid to touch. Amy spent those years with babysitters and in after-school programs. Lisa would pick her up late, exhausted and covered in chemical stains from her work. They would go home to their tiny apartment and eat simple meals while Lisa helped Amy with homework. Lisa always promised that things would get better, that her hard work would pay off eventually. When Amy was 13, Lisa finally got her big break. A research position opened up on New Eden Colony, studying the native alien species that lived in the planet's deep oceans. The job paid well and came with housing, but it was dangerous work. The alien creatures were unpredictable and potentially hostile. Lisa faced an impossible choice. She could take Amy with her to New Eden, where there were no good schools and where Lisa would be working long hours in dangerous conditions. Or she could send Amy to live with the Blackwood family, who had offered to take care of her. The Blackwoods were wealthy colonial administrators who had no children of their own. Claire Blackwood had met Amy at a youth science fair and been impressed by the girl's intelligence. When they learned about Lisa's situation, they offered to let Amy live with them while Lisa established herself on New Eden. It was supposed to be temporary. Lisa planned to work for 2 years, save money, and then bring Amy to live with her in better conditions. She thought she was giving her daughter opportunities she could never provide alone. But the Blackwoods had other ideas. They gave Amy everything money could buy. Private tutors, expensive clothes, trips to other worlds, admission to the best schools. They also filled Amy's head with stories about how Lisa had abandoned her to pursue her selfish career. Over the years, Amy began to believe these stories. She stopped answering Lisa's video calls. She returned Lisa's letters unopened. When Lisa tried to visit, Amy refused to see her. The Blackwoods legally adopted Amy when she turned 16, claiming that Lisa was an unfit mother who cared more about alien creatures than her own child. Lisa tried everything to reconnect with her daughter. She sent birthday presents that were returned. She attended Amy's school events from the back row, uninvited and unnoticed. She kept pictures of Amy on her desk at work and talked about her to anyone who would listen. But Amy wanted nothing to do with her. In Amy's mind, Lisa was the woman who had sent her away. The Blackwoods were her real family now, the people who had given her love and stability. 3 weeks ago, Lisa had received the wedding invitation. Her heart had leaped with hope when she saw it in her mail slot. Maybe Amy wanted her there after all. Maybe they could finally heal their broken relationship. But when she opened the envelope, she found only a formal announcement. No personal note, no invitation to attend. Just a cold piece of paper informing her that Amy Blackwood would be marrying Marcus Blackwood on New Eden Colony. Lisa had come anyway. She had taken vacation time from her work at the Federation Science Institute and traveled across 3-star systems to be here. She had bought a dress and a gift and hoped that maybe Amy would see her and remember the mother who had loved her enough to sacrifice everything for her future. Instead, she had watched from outside like a stranger, seeing her daughter marry into the family that had stolen her away. 8 years passed after Amy's wedding, and Lisa Martinez had become a different person. The pain of watching her daughter reject her had turned into something else entirely. It became fuel for her ambition, drive for her work, and purpose for her life. Lisa threw herself into her research with fierce determination. She spent 18-hour days in her laboratory at the Federation Science Institute, studying alien specimens that other scientists considered too dangerous to handle. While her colleagues went home to their families, Lisa worked late into the night, mapping alien DNA sequences and decoding their behavioral patterns. Her breakthrough came 2 years after the wedding. Lisa discovered that the hostile Zephyrian creatures which had been attacking human mining operations were not actually aggressive by nature. They were trying to protect their young, which were invisible to human scanners. Her research led to the first successful peace treaty between humans and the Zephyrians, saving hundreds of lives and opening up new worlds for human settlement. Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Terran Defense Force noticed Lisa's work immediately. Kate was a tough woman in her 50s who had fought in 3 interstellar wars. She understood the value of someone who could solve problems with brains instead of bullets. Dr. Martinez, Kate had said during their first meeting, "Your work with the Zephyrians has impressed everyone in the Defense Force. We need people like you. People who can understand aliens instead of just fighting them." Lisa accepted Kate's offer to join the Defense Force as a civilian consultant. Her official title was Xenobiological Advisor, but everyone knew she was much more than that. She became the person they called when diplomatic missions failed and military options looked hopeless. Her reputation grew with each success. When the crystal-based silicoids refused to allow human ships through their space, Lisa spent 3 months learning their light-based language. She discovered they were afraid humans would contaminate their pure energy fields. Lisa designed special ship shields that protected the silicoids while allowing human passage. The trade routes she opened brought prosperity to dozens of human worlds. The spider-like arachnoids had been capturing human explorers for unknown reasons. Military commanders wanted to launch attacks on their home planet. Lisa insisted on studying captured arachnoid specimens first. She learned they were not capturing humans to harm them, but to study human medicine. Their species was dying from a genetic disease, and they hoped human biology might hold the cure. Lisa helped develop a treatment that saved the arachnoid species and turned them into loyal allies. Each success brought new opportunities. Lisa was promoted to Director of Xenobiological Defense, then Secretary of Interstellar Sciences. She moved from her small apartment to a comfortable house near the capital. She hired assistants and managed large research teams. Her work took her to dozens of worlds across human space, but success came with a price. Lisa had no time for personal relationships. She worked constantly, traveled frequently, and never stayed in one place long enough to make real friends. Her only companions were her research assistants and the alien specimens in her laboratory. She tried to contact Amy several times over the years. She sent letters through official channels, hoping her new status might make a difference. She had assistants deliver gifts for Amy's children when she learned she had become a grandmother. But everything was returned unopened, just like before. Lisa learned about Amy's life through public records and social media posts. Amy and Marcus had 2 children, Emma, born 3 years after the wedding, and Jake, born 2 years later. They lived in a large house in New Eden's most expensive district. Marcus worked for his uncle's mining company, while Amy stayed home with the children. From the outside, Amy's life looked perfect. But Lisa noticed things others might miss. In photos, Amy's smile never reached her eyes. Marcus often appeared, in pictures without his family, attending business events and social gatherings alone. There were rumors about financial troubles at Blackwood Mining Company and gossip about Marcus's drinking and gambling habits. Lisa wanted to help, but she knew her interference would not be welcome. Amy had made her choice 8 years ago, and she seemed determined to stick with it. All Lisa could do was continue building her career and hope that someday Amy might need her enough to reach out. By the 5th year after the wedding, Lisa had become one of the most important people in human space. The Federation Council appointed her a special advisor on extraterrestrial affairs. She had a staff of 200 researchers and a budget larger than most planetary governments. Alien ambassadors requested meetings with her personally. Military commanders followed her recommendations without question. Lisa's house filled with awards and honors from dozens of worlds. She received the Federation Medal of Honor for her work with the Quantum Collective, a group of energy beings who had threatened to destroy human colonies until Lisa found a way to communicate with them. The University of Earth gave her an honorary doctorate in interspecies relations. 3 different alien species named her an honorary member of their ruling councils. But the award she treasured most was a simple letter from a human mother on Proxima Station. The woman's son had been captured by hostile aliens during an exploration mission. Lisa's negotiations had secured his release along with 17 other prisoners. The mother's letter was only 2 sentences long. "You brought my boy home. Thank you for caring about people you've never met." Lisa kept that letter in her desk drawer and read it whenever she felt discouraged about her work. It reminded her why she had chosen this path. She could not be there for her own daughter, but she could protect thousands of other families across the galaxy. Meanwhile, on New Eden Colony, Amy's perfect life was beginning to crack. Marcus had developed a serious gambling problem that was draining their savings. Nathan Blackwood's mining company was struggling as alien interference made their operations increasingly difficult. The easy wealth that had supported the Blackwood lifestyle for decades was disappearing. Amy found herself thinking about her mother more often. She would see news reports about Dr. Lisa Martinez negotiating peace treaties or discovering new alien species and feel a strange mixture of pride and regret. Sometimes she would start to compose a message to Lisa, but always deleted it before sending. Claire Blackwood noticed Amy's mood changes and tried to remind her how much better her life was without Lisa's influence. "Your mother chose her career over you," Claire would say. "We're the ones who gave you love and stability." But Amy was beginning to wonder if the story was more complicated than that. Her own children were growing up now. and she understood how difficult it was to balance work and family. She began to question whether Lisa had really abandoned her, or whether she had been trying to build a better future for both of them. 8 years after the wedding, Lisa Martinez had become exactly what she had promised to become, someone worthy of being Amy's mother. She was respected throughout the galaxy, trusted by alien species, and credited with saving countless lives. She had proven her worth to everyone except the one person whose opinion mattered most to her. Soon, events would force Amy to see her mother in a new light. But for now, Lisa continued her work, protecting humanity from threats they did not even know existed, while hoping that someday her daughter would understand the sacrifices she had made. The first Vrak ship appeared in human space on a Tuesday morning. It was massive, dark, and shaped like a twisted blade cutting through the stars. When human patrol ships tried to communicate with it, the Vrak vessel responded with weapons fire that turned 3 Federation cruisers into burning metal in seconds. Lisa Martinez was in her office at Federation headquarters when the emergency alert came through. Red lights flashed throughout the building as Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice echoed over the communication system. All senior staff to the war room immediately. We have a code red situation. Lisa hurried through the corridors with dozens of other officials. The war room was already crowded with military officers, diplomats, and scientists. On the main screen, satellite images showed the aftermath of the attack. Wreckage from human ships drifted in space while the alien vessel continued on its path toward the outer colonies. "What do we know about them?" asked General Harrison, the Federation's top military commander. "Nothing," Admiral Sullivan replied grimly. "They appeared out of nowhere. Our ships tried standard first contact protocols. The aliens responded by destroying everything in their path." Lisa studied the images on the screen. The alien ship was unlike anything in her database. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, but analysis showed it was harder than any known material. Strange symbols glowed along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Over the next few days, more Vrak ships arrived. They moved through human space like sharks through water, attacking any vessel they encountered. Their weapons were devastating, able to tear through Federation shields as if they were paper. Worse, they seemed to learn from each battle, adapting their tactics to counter human defenses. The Vrak fleet targeted the outer colonies first. They surrounded mining worlds and agricultural planets, cutting off supply lines and communications. The colonies sent desperate messages begging for help before their transmissions went silent one by one. New Eden Colony was one of the first targets. The Vrak established a blockade around the planet, trapping everyone on the surface. No ships could get in or out. The colony's defense grid, which had seemed so impressive during peacetime, proved useless against alien technology. On New Eden, panic spread through the population. Nathan Blackwood called emergency meetings of the colonial government, but nobody knew what to do. Their communication arrays had been destroyed in the first hour of the attack. They were cut off from the rest of human space, alone with an alien threat they could not understand. Amy Blackwood sat in her expensive house, watching the alien ships through her window. The dark vessels hung in the sky like storm clouds, blocking out the light of the twin suns. Her children, Emma and Jake, now 8 and 6 years old, asked questions she could not answer. Why are the aliens here? Emma wanted to know. What do they want? Amy had no answers. Marcus had disappeared 3 days ago, claiming he was going to help with the colony's defense, but Amy suspected he was hiding somewhere, drinking away his fear like he always did when problems became too serious. For the first time in years, Amy found herself thinking about her mother. Dr. Lisa Martinez was famous throughout human space for her work with alien species. If anyone could understand these creatures, it would be Lisa. But Amy had spent so many years rejecting her mother that she did not even know how to contact her. Meanwhile, at Federation headquarters, Lisa worked around the clock trying to understand the Vrak. She studied every piece of data they had collected, analyzing the aliens' ship designs, weapon signatures, and movement patterns. She worked with teams of xenobiologists, linguists, and military strategists, but the Vrak remained a mystery. The aliens had not attempted any communication. They ignored all human attempts at contact, responding only with violence. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had encountered before. Even their captured weapons were impossible to reverse engineer, dissolving into unidentifiable particles when removed from Vrak ships. Lisa's breakthrough came when she was examining recordings of Vrak attacks. She noticed something others had missed. The aliens always destroyed military targets first, but they avoided harming civilian areas unless provoked. They were selective in their violence, following patterns that suggested intelligence and strategy rather than mindless aggression. "They're not trying to exterminate us," Lisa told Admiral Sullivan during a late-night briefing. "If they wanted us dead, they could have wiped out entire colonies by now. They're sending a message." "What kind of message?" Sullivan asked. "I don't know yet," Lisa admitted. "But I think they want something from us. They're not just randomly attacking. There's a purpose behind their actions." Lisa's theory was confirmed when the Vrak began capturing human prisoners instead of killing them. They took scientists, engineers, and medical personnel from the colonies they attacked. The prisoners were kept alive but isolated, making rescue attempts impossible. The Federation Council met in emergency session to decide how to respond. Some members wanted to launch a massive military counterattack, despite the obvious technological disadvantage. Others suggested abandoning the outer colonies and focusing on defending the core worlds. Lisa proposed a different solution. "Let me try to establish communication with them," she said. "I've successfully negotiated with dozens of alien species. The Vrak must have reasons for their actions. If we can understand what they want, maybe we can find a peaceful solution." "General," Harrison shook his head. "These aren't like the other aliens you've dealt with, Doctor. They've killed thousands of our people. They're not interested in talking." "Every species can be understood," Lisa insisted. "Even the most hostile creatures have motivations we can work with. The Vrak are intelligent beings, not monsters. They must want something, and if we can figure out what it is, we might be able to negotiate." The debate continued for hours. Military leaders wanted to prepare for war, while diplomats hoped for peaceful solutions. Lisa found herself caught in the middle, arguing for patience and understanding while colonies fell silent one by one. Finally, Admiral Sullivan made the decision. "Dr. Martinez will have her chance," she announced, "but we're also preparing military options. If diplomacy fails, we'll need to be ready to fight." Lisa knew she had little time. The Vrak fleet was growing larger every day as more ships arrived from deep space. Soon they would have enough forces to attack the core worlds directly. If she could not find a way to communicate with them, humanity might face extinction. As she prepared for the most important mission of her career, Lisa thought about Amy and her grandchildren trapped on New Eden Colony. She had spent years building her reputation and proving her worth to the galaxy. Now she would need all her skills and experience to save not just her own family, but all of humanity. The Vrak crisis would test everything Lisa had learned about alien species. It would also give her the chance to prove to Amy once and for all that the mother who had seemed to abandon her had actually been preparing to save her all along. The Federation flagship Endeavour dropped out of hyperspace near New Eden Colony with a fleet of 12 evacuation ships. Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge, watching the planet where her daughter lived under the shadow of alien vessels. The Vrak blockade was even more impressive up close. Dozens of dark ships arranged in perfect formation around the world like predators circling their prey. Lisa wore her official Federation uniform for the first time in months. The blue fabric with gold insignia marked her as one of the most important people in human space. She felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, knowing that millions of lives depended on her success. Captain Rodriguez, commander of the Endeavour, studied the tactical displays with concern. "The Vrak ships are not responding to our communications, Dr. Martinez. They're maintaining their blockade positions, but they haven't attacked us yet." "They're waiting to see what we do," Lisa replied. "Send them my personal diplomatic codes. Let them know I'm here to negotiate, not to fight." The message was transmitted on all frequencies. For long minutes, nothing happened. Then slowly, one of the Vrak ships began moving toward them. It was smaller than the others, but moved with deadly grace through space. "They're scanning us," reported the ship's science officer. "But they're not locking weapons. I think they want to talk." Lisa felt a mixture of hope and fear. This was her first direct contact with the Vrak, the species that had terrorized human space for months. Everything she had learned about alien psychology would be tested in the next few hours. The Vrak ship transmitted a series of complex mathematical patterns. Lisa recognized it as a basic intelligence test, similar to protocols she had developed for first contact situations. She responded with equally complex calculations, proving that humans were capable of logical thought. What followed was the most difficult translation work of Lisa's career. The Vrak communicated through combinations of mathematics, light patterns, and electromagnetic pulses. Their language was unlike anything she had encountered before, but slowly she began to understand their basic concepts. The first breakthrough came when she realized the Vrak were not trying to conquer human space. They were refugees, fleeing from something even more dangerous. Their homeworld was dying, consumed by a cosmic phenomenon they called the Dark Hunger. They needed new worlds to survive, and they saw humans as competitors for the same resources. Lisa spent hours in communication with the Vrak representative, a being that called itself Thoughtweaver Prime. Through painstaking translation, she learned that the Vrak had been wandering space for generations, searching for a new home. They had attacked human colonies, not out of hatred, but out of desperation. But there would be time for detailed negotiations later. Right now, Lisa had a more immediate concern: getting the people off New Eden Colony before the situation became worse. The colonial government agreed to meet with Lisa at the spaceport. She had not set foot on New Eden since Amy's wedding 9 years ago, and returning brought back painful memories. But this time, she was not an unwelcome outsider. She was humanity's best hope for survival. Nathan Blackwood waited for her at the landing pad, along with other colonial officials. The man who had once treated her with contempt now looked desperate and afraid. His expensive clothes were wrinkled, his usually perfect hair was messy, and his hands shook as he approached her. "Dr. Martinez," he said, struggling to maintain his dignity. "Thank you for coming. We need your help." Lisa studied the man who had stolen her daughter away from her. Part of her wanted to remind him of how he had treated her, how he had convinced Amy that her mother was worthless. But this was not the time for personal grudges. "Where is the evacuation staging area?" she asked professionally. "I want all civilians ready to board the transport ships within 6 hours." The evacuation proceeded under Lisa's direction. She organized the colonial population with military efficiency, prioritizing children and elderly residents for the first ships. Her years of managing complex operations across multiple worlds had taught her how to handle large-scale logistics. But her heart was focused on one family among the thousands. Amy lived in the wealthy district on the other side of town, and Lisa had not seen her yet. She wondered if Amy even knew she was here. The answer came when Amy appeared at the spaceport, 3 hours into the evacuation. She looked older than in the photos Lisa had seen, with lines of worry around her eyes and gray streaks in her dark hair. She held the hands of 2 children, Emma, now 8 years old with curious brown eyes, and Jake, 6 years old and shy behind. His sister Amy stopped when she saw Lisa directing the evacuation efforts. For a moment, mother and daughter stared at each other across the crowded spaceport. 9 years of separation, anger, and misunderstanding hung between them like a wall. Emma tugged on her mother's hand. "Mommy, who is that lady? She looks important." "That's..." Amy started, then stopped. How could she explain that the woman organizing their rescue was the grandmother her children had never met? Lisa approached them slowly, her heart pounding. She knelt down to be at eye level with the children. "Hello, Emma. Hello, Jake. I'm Dr. Martinez. I'm here to make sure you get somewhere safe." Emma studied Lisa's face with the same intense curiosity that Amy had shown as a child. "Are you a scientist? Do you study aliens?" "Yes, I do," Lisa replied. "I try to understand them so we can be friends instead of enemies." "That's so cool," Emma exclaimed. "I want to study aliens too when I grow up." Jake remained quiet, staying close to his mother. But Lisa noticed he was listening carefully to everything she said. Amy watched this interaction with conflicting emotions. She had spent years telling herself that Lisa was a selfish woman who had abandoned her family for career advancement. But seeing Lisa here, risking her life to save strangers, made Amy question everything she had believed. "Where's Marcus?" Lisa asked quietly. Amy's face hardened. "He left yesterday. Said he had important business off-world. He took one of the last private ships out before the blockade closed completely." Lisa understood immediately. Marcus had abandoned his family when they needed him most, just like Amy's father had done years ago. The pattern was repeating itself in the next generation. As the evacuation continued, Lisa and Amy worked together for the first time since Amy was a child. They helped load supplies onto transport ships and comforted frightened colonists. The EU children stayed close to both women, sensing the connection between them even if they did not understand it completely. The moment Lisa had been dreading finally came as the last transport ship was being loaded. Amy approached her as she supervised the final preparations. "Mom," Amy said quietly, using the word for the first time in 9 years. "I need to tell you something. I kept all your letters. Every single one. I hid them from the Blackwoods, but I read them all." Lisa felt tears forming in her eyes. "I never stopped trying to reach you." "I know," Amy replied. "I was angry for so long. They told me you had abandoned me, that you cared more about your work than your own daughter. I believed them because it was easier than admitting I missed you." Before Lisa could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the spaceport. The Vrak ships were moving, changing their formation in space above the planet. Something was happening that would change everything. Lisa looked up at the dark shapes in the sky, then back at her daughter and grandchildren. She had come to New Eden to save them, but she was about to discover that saving her family would require the greatest sacrifice of all. 6 months after the evacuation of New Eden Colony, Lisa Martinez stood in the council chambers of the Vrak homeworld. The alien planet was unlike anything humans had ever seen, with crystal formations that sang in harmonic frequencies and atmosphere that glowed with soft purple light. Around her, Vrak leaders gathered in their flowing, energy-based forms that shifted between solid and light. The negotiations had been the most complex of Lisa's career. She had spent weeks learning the deeper levels of Vrak communication, understanding not just their words but their emotional resonance patterns. What she discovered changed everything humanity thought they knew about the alien threat. The Vrak were not conquerors or destroyers. They were a dying civilization, fleeing from a cosmic disaster that had consumed their original homeworld. The dark hunger they spoke of was the expanding void that devoured entire star systems, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The Vrak had been traveling for thousands of years, searching for a new place to rebuild their civilization. Their attacks on human colonies had been acts of desperation, not aggression. They needed worlds with specific atmospheric conditions to survive, and many human settlements occupied planets that matched their requirements. In their alien logic, they had tried to drive humans away to save both species from destruction. Lisa's breakthrough came when she realized the Vrak possessed technology that could benefit both civilizations. Their energy manipulation systems could solve humanity's power problems for generations. Their biological enhancement techniques could cure diseases that had plagued humans for centuries. Most importantly, their space-folding technology could help humanity spread across the galaxy, faster than ever before. In exchange, humans could offer the Vrak something they desperately needed: genetic diversity. The Vrak species had become too isolated during their long journey through space. They were slowly dying out because their gene pool had become too small. Human genetic material, properly adapted, could help them survive as a species. The treaty Lisa negotiated was historic. Humans would share 12 uninhabited worlds with atmospheric conditions suitable for Vrak colonization. In return, the Vrak would provide advanced technology and medical knowledge. Both species would work together to explore the galaxy and defend against the approaching dark hunger. But Lisa's greatest personal victory was yet to come. She had requested one specific assignment as part of the treaty negotiations. She wanted to oversee the reconstruction of New Eden Colony as a joint human-Vrak settlement. It would be the first world where both species lived and worked together as equals. Amy had been living in temporary housing on the Federation capital world during the evacuation. The children, Emma and Jake, had adapted well to their new environment. Emma especially thrived in the advanced schools, showing the same curiosity about alien species that her grandmother possessed. Jake had overcome his shyness and made friends with children from dozens of different worlds. When Lisa returned from the Vrak homeworld, she found Amy waiting for her at the spaceport. Her daughter looked different, more confident, more independent. The months of separation from the Blackwood family influence had allowed Amy to remember who she really was. "Mom," Amy said, as Lisa emerged from her diplomatic shuttle. "I've been thinking about everything that happened, about the choices you made when I was young." Lisa braced herself for another confrontation. Even after their reconciliation during the evacuation, she knew Amy still had unresolved feelings about their past. "I understand now," Amy continued. "You didn't abandon me. You prepared yourself to protect me. Everything you sacrificed, all. The years of hard work and dangerous research, it was so you could become someone who could save people like us." Tears formed in Lisa's eyes as she hugged her daughter for the first time in nearly a decade. "I never stopped loving you," she whispered. "Even when you wouldn't talk to me, even when you returned my letters, I never stopped hoping we could be a family again." The reconstruction of New Eden Colony became a model for human-alien cooperation throughout the galaxy. Lisa designed the new settlement to accommodate both species comfortably. Human buildings were constructed alongside Vrak energy gardens. Schools taught children about both human and Vrak culture. Research facilities studied ways to combine the best of both civilizations. Emma and Jake thrived in this new environment. Emma worked alongside her grandmother in the xenobiology laboratories, showing natural talent for understanding alien behavior. Jake discovered a gift for Vrak energy manipulation, becoming one of the first humans to learn their crystalline technology. Amy found purpose in her new role as coordinator of interspecies family services. Her experience bridging different cultures made her perfect for helping other families adapt to the mixed society. She also began studying xenobiology herself, inspired by her mother's work and wanting to understand the field that had shaped their lives. The Blackwood family faced a very different fate. Nathan Blackwood's mining company collapsed completely when the Vrak revealed that many of the minerals he had been extracting were actually harmful to both species. His political influence disappeared as the colonial government reorganized around new priorities. Claire Blackwood struggled to adapt to a world where wealth and social status meant less than knowledge and cooperation. Marcus never returned from his business trip. Amy learned through legal documents that he had gambled away most of their remaining assets and fled to a distant world to avoid his debts. She filed for divorce and legally returned to her maiden name, Amy Martinez. The greatest surprise came when Nathan Blackwood approached Lisa personally at the colony's first anniversary celebration. The man who had once treated her with contempt now looked broken and humbled. "Dr. Martinez," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology. I was wrong about everything. I thought money and status were what mattered. I convinced Amy to reject you because I was threatened by your intelligence and determination." Lisa studied the man who had caused her so much pain. She could have been cruel, could have reminded him of all the ways he had hurt her family. Instead, she chose compassion. "You gave Amy opportunities I couldn't provide at the time," she said. "You weren't entirely wrong about that, but you were wrong to make her choose between opportunities and love. She should have been allowed to have both." Nathan nodded, accepting the gentle rebuke. Is there anything I can do to make amends?" Lisa considered his question carefully. "Help build the new colony. Work with the integration teams. Prove that people can change and grow just like civilizations can." 5 years after the Vrak crisis began, Lisa Martinez stood in her laboratory on New Eden Colony, watching 3 generations of her family work together. Amy was analyzing Vrak biological samples while Emma, now 13, cataloged alien specimens with the same methodical precision Lisa had taught her. Jake, 11, was using VRAC energy tools to create crystalline storage containers for their research. The girl who had once been told her mother abandoned her now worked side by side with that same mother, building a better future for both their species. The colony they had rebuilt together was thriving, with humans and VRAC living in harmony that was copied throughout the galaxy. Lisa's sacrifice had paid off in ways she never could have imagined. Her years of lonely work and painful separation from Amy had prepared her not just to save her family, but to save 2 entire civilizations. The karma that had finally struck back was not revenge but recognition. The universe had rewarded her dedication by giving her everything she had ever truly wanted. Outside their laboratory window, human children played with young VRAC in the A colony's central garden. The future they were building together would be better than anything either species could have achieved alone, and it had all started with one mother's refusal to give up on her daughter, even when that daughter had given up on her.